When something is important enough, you do it even if the odds are not in your favor. I think it is possible for ordinary people to choose to be extraordinary. If you get up in the morning and think the future is going to be better, it is a bright day, otherwise it's not. Persistence is very important. You should not give up unless you are forced to give up. Failure is an option here. If things are not failing, you are not innovating enough. The first step is to establish that something is possible. Then probability will occur. Don't confuse education with schooling. I didn't go to Harvard, but people who work for me did. It's okay to have your eggs in one basket as long as you control what happens to that basket. You shouldn't do things differently just because they're different. They need to be better. I say something, and then it usually happens. Maybe not on schedule, but it usually happens. If you're trying to create a company, it's like baking a cake. You have to have all the ingredients in the right proportion. You want to have a future where you're expecting things to be better, not one where you're expecting things to be worse. Brand is just a perception, and perception will match reality over time. Some people don't like change, but you need to embrace change if the alternative is a disaster. I would like to die on Mars, just not on impact. If you're coasting, you're either losing momentum or else you're headed downhill. Any product that needs a manual to work is broken. Work like hell. I mean, you just have to put in 80 to 100-hour weeks every week. People work better when they know what the goal is and why. It is important that people look forward to coming to work in the morning and enjoy working. I think the best way to attract venture capital is to try and come up with a demonstration of whatever product or service it is, and ideally take that as far as you can. Just see if you can sell that to real customers and start generating some momentum. The further you can get with that, the more Lee. My biggest mistake is probably weighing too much on someone's talent and not someone's personality. I think it matters whether someone has a good heart. I think it is possible for ordinary people to choose to be extraordinary. Really pay attention to negative feedback and solicit it, particularly from friends. Hardly anyone does that, and it's incredibly helpful. It's very important to like the people you work with, otherwise, life and your job is gonna be quite miserable. It is a mistake to hire huge numbers of people to get a complicated job done. Numbers will never compensate for talent and getting the right answer to people who don't know something or know better. Then one will tend to slow down progress and will make the task incredibly expensive. It's okay to have your eggs in one basket as long as you control what happens to that basket. Really, the only thing that makes sense is to strive for greater collective enlightenment. You need to be in the position where it is the cost of the fuel that actually matters, and as far as where the electricity comes from, we are only concerned that it is low carbon and not in any danger of running out. I always have optimism, but I'm realistic. It was not with the expectation of great success that I started Tesla or SpaceX. It's just that I thought they were important enough to do anyway. Don't confuse education with schooling. I didn't go to Harvard, but people who work for me did. There's a tremendous bias against taking risks. Everyone is trying to optimize their ass covering. We're going to make it happen, as God is my bloody witness. I'm hell-bent on making it work. I wouldn't say I have a lack of fear. In fact, I'd like my fear emotion to be less because it's very distracting and fries my nervous system. If you're trying to create a company, it's like baking a cake. You have to have all the ingredients in the right proportion. It's okay to have your eggs in one basket as long as you control what happens to that basket. There's a tremendous bias against taking risks. Everyone is trying to optimize their ass covering. It's very important to like the people you work with. Otherwise, your job is going to be quite miserable. Some people don't like change, but you need to embrace change if the alternative is a disaster. When Henry Ford made cheap, reliable cars, people said, "Nah. What's wrong with a horse?" That was a huge bet he made, and it worked. People work better when they know what the goal is and why. It is important that people look forward to coming to work in the morning and enjoy working. I don't think it's a good idea to plan to sell a company. I don't create companies for the sake of creating companies, but to get things done.